Dear Lord, may your loving hand guide Homer to the mattress square and true. Okay.
Hello and welcome to the Hypertrophy Odyssey, chapter 226. It is the last day of the week, aka the Buster Cannon workout. Yes, this one's a new day, technically. I haven't done this day before, and what is it? All lower body. Well, you'll see that when we get into the gym, but for now, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling actually really great so far. A little sore, but nothing too much. A little bit of a warm-up, won't manage to get down a little. I had a good day today. It was a very nice day for a lot of different reasons, but the main reason being I got to work from home today, which was very nice. So I'll explain that story most likely in the voiceover, but for now, let's talk about the main subject matter, divine intervention. Yes, so the reason why I wanted to talk about this, one, because of what happened at work and what made me be able to work from home, and a few other things like that, but also, as well, as editing this episode right here about the sign. And in the episode about the sign, I briefly mention the divine intervention, like something outside of the world that we know and catching a glimpse of it. That's what the sign is, correct? So that's kind of like what I'd established there. This one is about something from the outside world happen to just perfectly do something for you in this world perfectly. So it's not even a sign, something happened straight up. So it's less of a actual like, oh hey, this could happen, and it's more of a direct contact into your world to try to change something about it. And that's the big difference that I wanted to discuss in this video, as opposed to just getting a sign. Because a sign can be missed. A sign can be, as discussed in that video before, too close to you. Maybe you see it, but you choose to ignore it. All these things. But an act of divine intervention is one of those things that you cannot ignore because it has been done to you. You are at the whim of whatever you believe at. All right? Even if it is nothing and you just believe the world just happens, you just happen to be a person to happen to be in the right spot at the right time, and or the wrong spot at the wrong time. So it all just depends, obviously. But it's one of those things that you cannot ignore, because literally something happened where it plucked you out of whatever you were doing for some weird reason, and now all of a sudden, boom, your life completely just like took a 180. Now, obviously, there are levels to it, because there are some people that will say, like, you know, it could be as small as being able to work from home versus big things where if I would have done X, I would have died. So there are scales to it, and I'll probably get more into detail when we get inside about that. But I'll just say this. Divine intervention is something that is very rare, and also it can happen a lot depending. I'm not necessarily one for speaking on prayer and all those things. Nothing wrong against it, but I don't think I'm the right person to talk about it. So I'll say that. But I do think there is something there. I don't want to go into too much detail here. I think there's something there. I also think that in the way that the world is, there is something that looks out for you, whether it be a guardian angel, a heavenly deity, God, you know, Jesus, whoever you believe in, Allah. There are many possibilities in that realm. I am more of a believer that something is looking over you, in theory. So that's just how I feel about it. If you don't feel like this, if you're like, oh, there's nothing there, you know what I mean, this is just happenstance, tell me in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions about that. But with that being said, I will see you on the inside. All right, so started this day off with leg extensions, which were pretty good. But anyways, back to the main subject matter for today. Divine intervention. So the reason why this subject matter really came up was because the night before I worked on this day, I thought, I'm going to be alone in the office. My coworker is out of town, so I'm just going to be by myself in the office. It'd be awesome if I could just work from home because there's not really much I can do while in the office alone. So there's no point in me going in. Lo and behold, the next day, I wake up to an email saying, hey, the entire building has no power. In fact, the entire quadrant of our area has no power and everybody must work at home. And I was like, no fucking way. So I looked it up and yes, there was no power there. There was actually no power for a good while. They didn't get power until Tuesday. But still, I was shocked when this happened. I was like, no fucking way. Now, obviously, there are things where power can go out anywhere or do anything like that. These things can happen. It's not necessarily that far out of an idea. But the fact that it happened right after I thought about it, not only that, but also conveniently, like perfect timing for this to happen. It was overnight and it ended up being like a weird fire underneath like where the power lines are for like that area. So it was such a weird thing. So I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. This is crazy. God himself or some divine deity came in and said, hey, we're doing this for you. And I was so thankful because it ended up making it so I could go to the gym early, but not only that, but also I could just start the rest of my day as soon as I was at 5 o'clock. It was like, boom, done. These types of things happen, I feel like, most of the time. You hear stories about people all the time ending up not doing something and then all of a sudden it's saving their life. One famous example is 9/11. I believe Seth MacFarlane was supposed to be on one of the planes that ended up crashing, which is crazy. And there are a bunch of stories like that where people ended up going somewhere and then they said, maybe I'll just go here. Or another story of like, everything was fine, but then all of a sudden I decided I'm gonna leave the door unlocked for some reason, which was very inauspicious, and then all of a sudden I had a heart attack. Those types of things, and you hear these types of stories all the time. It's very weirdly common, but it's interesting that for some reason these things always happen, and I feel like the more that you don't necessarily look into them, but more so hope that things will work out in your favor, that they will end up working out in your favor. And that's how I feel about it. Now, is this what I would consider miracles? I don't necessarily think so, but I do think that that is a whole other subject for a whole other day. But that is something that I cannot deny, that there is something sometimes somewhere looking out for you, trying to make sure that, hey, here, this entire thing is about to go upside down, but here you go. Here's a little bit of a random thing to happen to help you out. The alarm goes off later than it was supposed to. You were at X, Y, or Z, and it's always, those are the stories you truly remember because you're like, oh my lord. And we're back. Welcome to the workout debriefing. Exercises not filmed. None. Exercises skipped. Also none. Got everything that I wanted to get in. It was kind of crazy. It was very, very, very quick. I'm on my way home with a lot of time left, which is kind of nice. But anyways, back to the main subject matter at hand. Divine intervention. I think personally, how do I see this as something? Personally, I see this as something that happens quite often. You hear these stories of people having these things happen to them where all of a sudden just one thing leads to another, and then all of a sudden, boom, something has happened where in their life where an entire catastrophe was avoided, or there was something that made them not do Y, and then because of that they ended up meeting the love of their life, or things like that just generally happen when it comes to these types of things that are just like unexplainable things that are kind of just pushed into our world that we can't really explain. And sometimes they're really good, sometimes they are not good, but it just depends. And I feel like if you hope for more of the good ones to happen, more of the good ones will generally happen. It's just kind of like luck, really, where if you believe you have better luck, then you will have better luck. That's just how it is. So I would recommend probably erring on the same thing when it comes to believing that there is something that will happen that will benefit you rather than harm you. Obviously, I feel like obviously it will go the other way too, which maybe I could talk about in a different episode, a little bit of a like bad karma type of deal, but that's a whole other conversation for a whole other day, because this isn't necessarily even karma. This is more so along the lines of just things in the world conspiring to to help you and also just kind of work out for you in a weird way. And sometimes it's explainable, sometimes it is not explainable, and a lot of the times it's not explainable. Let's be real, sometimes there are just acts of nature, acts of God, acts of the happenstance of something happened to happen, the chances of something happening, things like that that are so instrumentally low that it is to the point where there has to be something or someone watching out for you, because there's just no fucking way, you know? And I think we've all had at least a couple of experiences in life that is like that. My one that I had today, not that extreme. No, I wouldn't say it wasn't necessarily out of this world. Was it definitely odd? It very much was. But it wasn't necessarily like an act of God that only struck me and this particular, thing. Yeah, so if it was just one floor in one building that happened to be my floor that didn't have power, then it would have been very, 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 very particular. But there was a group of people, so it was a lot of little things. But even then, for it to be my building today to not have any energy is a very, very, very particular thing to happen. Like, very particular. Like, I don't think I've ever really heard of something like that happening as much, but then again, I have been really in the working world for that long per se, so it is something to think about. But personally, that's how I see divine intervention. I see it as something that you would hope for more of that, in the way that it's going to be positive in your life, where just things happen to work out for you and you don't have to worry about as much. Of course, you're going to worry about the thing before it happens, but those times when it happens, it's like a sigh of relief and like, oh my God, it came true. What your fantasy or the thing that you imagined comes true. And it's such a relief that you're like, thank God, or just thank you, But with that being said, tell me what you think in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions about this one. This one is one of those random ones, but also not so random. I feel like a lot of these are kind of interconnected in a certain way, obviously, but it's all just different. Tell me what you think in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions about this one. Also, if you have a story about some type of divine intervention where like some weird act of God made it so something very memorable in particular happens, whether it saves you from a test or something along the lines like that. But anyways, thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video with anybody who may or may not like it. I will be back on tomorrow with a new video. Stay safe out there, stay warm, take care, and keep it heavy. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks again for watching. Peace!